their opening statements. Mr. Berman.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for holding a hearing which, perhaps like few others, will highlight the conditions of migrant farm workers in this country and turn attention to this critical issue. I thank both the Chair and Ranking Member of the full committee for allowing to go. This is an issue that I have been focused on for 40 years, and in the last 10 years have each session introduced bipartisan legislation to try and deal with this issue, known as ag jobs. Unfortunately, because I chair another committee, I have a hearing at 10 o'clock, and so I appreciate the courtesies extended to let me jump in line here. I'm going to forego my prepared opening statement, but I simply must respond to the comments of the ranking member, my friend the ranking member, on this particular issue. There is nothing that the chair said, there is nothing implicit in the Take Our Jobs campaign, explicit or implicit, that said Americans aren't doing hard work. And if the gentleman from Iowa were deeply concerned about the conditions on the farms and the wages, I would have noticed more activity to ensure that a number of the laws that apply to all other workers in America apply with equal force to the people who pick our fruits and vegetables in this country. I would see an effort to push greater appropriations and greater funding for people to monitor the working conditions on our farms. I'd see an effort to try and get the rights that all other workers have to collective bargaining extended to farm workers who are excluded from our national collective bargaining legislation. The fact is that while Americans over and over again have produced both their, have shown both their courage and their willingness to undertake terribly difficult jobs, jobs that I would dare to say the people on this podium, including myself, would be very reluctant to take. Study after study, including studies at the time of welfare reform, where huge numbers of people were going to be forced off of the welfare rolls. And in counties where unemployment was 2 or 3 times the average of the country generally, people would rather have no income and no welfare than take the back-breaking jobs that the migrant farm worker has to do every single day. There is a problem here. You can try and cheap seat it all you want, but we know that were it not for immigrant farm workers in this country, there would be no seasonal fresh fruit and vegetable industry. And I join the gentleman wanting better wages and better working conditions, and we should do everything we can to try and improve those conditions. But the facts are the facts. Study after study has demonstrated that these jobs are not taken by U.S. workers even when unemployed, even when having no other significant means of support. And nothing that, no rhetorical flourishes can hide that fact. I commend the gentlelady for holding this hearing. I want to pay a special recognition to my friend, dear friend for a number of years, the President of the United Farm Workers Union, Arturo Rodriguez, and the other witnesses as well. And I apologize for not being able to, I hope to come back when my hearing is over, but not to be here for the entire hearing. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Berman. We would now recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Smith, for his opening statement, and he will be followed by Mr. Conyers, and then just to keep it even, we'll invite Mr. Lundgren to have an opening statement, and other members will be invited to submit opening statements to the record. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. American workers face tough economic times. With unemployment almost 10% for the first time in a generation, jobs have become scarce and millions of families are hurting. The Pew Hispanic Center estimates that there are more than 7 million illegal workers in the United States. Alexander Alenikoff Clinton administration INS official and now UN Deputy High Commissioner for Refugees, calls it a myth that there are little or no competition between undocumented workers and American workers. This competition has had devastating effects on the most vulnerable of Americans. Over 32% of native-born workers without a high school degree are either unemployed, forced to work part-time, or too discouraged to even look for work. For native-born Hispanics without a high school degree, the rate is 35%. For native-born African Americans without a high school degree, the rate is 43%. We could make millions of jobs available to American citizens and legal immigrants if the federal government simply enforced our immigration laws. About half of agricultural workers are illegal immigrants. So that means that a substantial number of legal workers labor in the fields, perhaps as many as half. Certainly even more would take these jobs if the wages and working conditions were better. The most effective means we have to save jobs for Americans are U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement worksite enforcement actions. Each time they detain and deport an illegal worker, they create a job opportunity for an American worker. Each time the Department of Justice sanctions an employer, it sends a clear message that the employment of illegal workers will not be tolerated. Unfortunately, this administration is turning its back on American workers. Worksite administrative arrests have fallen 79% since 2008. Criminal arrests have fallen 62%. It is hard to conceive of a worse time to cut worksite enforcement efforts by more than half, and yet that is what the Obama administration has done. The Department of Homeland Security will tell you that they have increased the number of worksite audits of employers. Employers consider the small fines just the cost of doing business. And what happens to the illegal workers? They walk down the street and take another job that could have gone to an American worker. Citizens and legal immigrants should not be forced to compete with illegal immigrants for scarce jobs. The Obama administration should put the interest of American workers first. Let me point out that one witness, Stephen Colbert, has shed some light on the issue of jobs Americans supposedly won't do. A few years ago, when debating himself on his show, he asked, quote, "Don't we want to have cheap labor for all the jobs we don't want to do?" End quote. He responded, "Yeah, unless you're an American landscaper or an American construction worker." Then he added, "But I am an American TV host. My job is safe." Millions of Americans wish they didn't have to compete with cheap foreign labor and had such a safe job. Unfortunately, 17 million American workers are out of job or have given up looking for work. It's no laughing matter to pretend that Americans don't want jobs. Pay them more if needed, but don't insult American workers by telling them the government cares more about illegal workers than U.S. citizens. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Conyers would be recognized for any opening statement he may wish to give at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is so important here. I'd like to propose to my good friend, the ranking member, Steve King, that we form this committee so that we can get everybody to work very quickly. Between you and I, we could probably recruit hundreds of thousands of people and solve this problem, even though the farm workers couldn't do it. Senator Feinstein wasn't too successful. And you say it's pretty easy, so I'd like to work with you on this. What do you say?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you yielding to me, and I've actually recruited farm workers and hired them and paid them, and so what I had to do was raise the wages and benefits in order to attract people, and I know that people are migrant. The Okies went to California for jobs, and so if you offer the wages and the market and demand will provide the value, then the workers will show up. The legal workers will show up.
So the answer is yes.
Be happy to do that, and hopefully we can consider that labor is a commodity like corn or beans or tomatoes, and that a supply and demand establishes its value in the marketplace.
And you wouldn't have any objection to them being organized, members of a union?
I think here in America, if you want to market your skills and you're a legal worker, you do it the way you best can market your skills.
Right. Well, thanks a lot. I'll see you after the hearing. We'll get started.
I look forward to that, Mr. Chairman.
All right. And now to Stephen Colbert, who I enjoy and have for many years. I'm so happy that you've helped us fill the room, and I haven't seen this many cameras since when, Madam Chair? Been a while.
Maybe it was impeachment, but it's been a long time since we've had this kind of coverage. Yeah.
That's a haunting remembrance. Now, here's what I suggest so that our Republican colleagues we can get to the bottom of this. Mr. Colbert has presented us with a fine statement. It'll be entered into the record. He's got a huge march coming on October 30th, Saturday, here in Washington, which many people are going to be at, I know. I've got a very good feeling about that. I'll be busy working in Michigan trying to turn out the vote. We've been having a very low voter turnout, so that's the only reason I won't be with you in the march. But I would like to recommend that now that we've got all this attention, that you excuse yourself and that you let us get on with the three witnesses and all the other members there, and we're sure it'll be shown on the show tonight, and maybe Monday. I don't know. You run your show. We run the committee. But what do you say to that, Stephen? You didn't hear the question? I don't. You don't understand the question. The question was that. No, I'm not asking you not to talk. I'm asking you to leave the committee room completely and submit your statement instead.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm wondering if, from where Mr. Colbert's microphone isn't on and can't be heard, but whether, having posed the question, we could listen to Mr. Lundgren and Mr. Colbert can ponder what you've said. I think many are eager to hear his comments.
That's fair enough.
I'm here at the invitation of the chairwoman, and if she would like me to remove myself from the hearing room, I'm happy to do so. I'm only here at her invitation.
That is correct.
Thank you very much. That's fair enough.
The gentleman's time has expired. We will now hear from Mr. Lundgren, who will make an opening statement, and then in the interest of proceeding to our witnesses, we will invite other members to submit their statements for the record. Mr. Lundgren.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I've been working on this issue for some 30 years. I confess that I was the Republican floor manager for the Simpson-Mazzoli bill. I thought at that time we had presented a reasonable solution to the problem of illegal immigration in this country.